Hello and welcome to the Money Marketing Podcast. I'm Kimberly Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and we are back for our end of year podcast. I'm joined by the editorial team, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Tom Brown, and I'm the editor of this delightful team.
Yay.
Hi, I'm Dan Cooper, news editor.
I'm Maria Nichols, features editor.
Lois Valley, chief reporter.
I'm Darius McQuaid, reporter.
Okay, fantastic. So it's been a year. Wow. It seems to have gone so quickly and yet also been the longest year ever. I don't know if anyone else understands what I mean by that.
I think it's just gone really quickly. Flown by.
But then sometimes people will bring up certain things that happened this year. And I'm like, wait, no, that was like 5 years ago. But yeah, it just feels like a very odd year. And we're going to get into it a bit more. So I wanted to start off by asking you all what key market trends or financial news that came out that stood out for you for this year. Tom, do you want to start off?
Yeah, no, sure. Well, it's interesting for me because obviously I arrived, took over the editor's reins about just over a month ago. So it was interesting to just dive into the sector quite fresh and have a bit of an oversight. One of the first things I did was a feature for the magazine, which was the 20 top stories that we did over the course of the year. So that gave me a nice, interesting overview. And the one story that kept cropping up was the various different ups and downs of SJP. They were actually 5 of our top 10 stories of the year, be it the exit fees situation as a result of Consumer Duty. We had an interview with the outgoing chief executive, Andrew Croft. That was something that my predecessor bagged just as they announced the exit fee. So that was a bit of a coup. Yeah. But it's it's the gift that keeps on giving this story. I mean, since we've done all of those stories, they've had issues about the dip in their share price. They've had a lot of chat about executive bonuses. It hasn't gone down too well. So the incoming CEO of Marks Fitzpatrick, I think, has got quite a lot on his plate for 2024. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's never going to be an end to the SJP news that comes out. And it's always going to be something that's very popular, whether advisors love them or hate them. It's always going to be something they want to hear about. Lois.
Certainly keen to have a more positive 2024. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, let's hope for them. Or
They're
maybe
not actually making any changes to 2025, though, are they?
Yeah. And also for us, clicks wise, do we want it to be positive? I don't know. But Lois, what about you? What stood out for you?
So I wrote a cover feature for the December-January issue on the PFS and CII feud that seems to have sort of cropped back up again. So at the end of last year, just before Christmas, what's now referred to as the Christmas coup happened, which is when the CII said it was going to put in 3 institute directors onto the PFS board because it felt like the PFS board wasn't doing its job properly. There were some governance issues. And then the PFS obviously didn't really like that, and quite a lot of the members were up in arms about it. And then a few things happened sort of January, February. But then after February, everything seemed to sort of die down a bit. But the PFS board is still made up of primarily CII directors. And just a couple of months ago, everything seemed to all come back up again because the CII CEO announced he was leaving after, I think, when did he join? 2 years, maybe? Not even that, maybe a year. After not very long, anyway. No, 18 months. Sorry, he's going to leave after 18 months because he's going to leave in spring next year. And then some other things seem to sort of come up that some members of the PFS feel have been swept under the carpet. So things to do with the CII's financial situation and the fact that it's allegedly still holding on to £10 million of PFS funds. So for me, I just thought it was interesting that it's all come up again a year on.
Is that legal for them to be allegedly
I'm not
holding
gonna
on to
comment on
£10
the
million?
legality. Well, apparently, yes.
Okay.
But who knows? And who knows what's going to happen with it? But it's definitely not actually all gone quiet.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's all gone quiet. It's definitely not gone away.
No, for sure. Because I remember when JB did his cover and it was like this Civil War type situation. So at the time it was probably very heated, but I think it's probably going to be ongoing, like a civil war.
Like I did my intro on some friends I had at primary school, both of whom were called Sophie, and both of whom fell out like every week, and I was just stuck in the middle. And then they would make up again and we could all get along and have a fun time, and then they'd fall out again and I'd just be like, oh, this is a nightmare. And this debacle's kind of reminding me of that, but not to me, because I don't it doesn't really affect me personally, but it affects
sounds like our editorial meeting, Claire.
But it does affect a lot of PFS members, obviously, and CII members. So
yeah. Okay. Well, look forward to seeing what happens in 2024 with that. I'm sure more stuff will come out. And Dan, what stood out for you this year?
It's like you said, it seems to be just a crazy year, really, in so many different ways. But like Tom, I sort of joined money marketing just about 2 months ago now, and it feels like so much has happened in those 2 months, in terms of regulation and AI and so many different areas. But I think for me, it was probably the most recent one, really. On Friday last week, when the FCA announced the proposals to close the advice gap, and sort of try and put forward a simplified advice model, where advisors can give advice to clients with smaller sums to invest. And this is kind of like, I think, their way of, since RDR came in the end of 2012, this is the FCA's way of sort of trying to kind of close that gap. And I think for me, that's probably the most interesting thing that's come out certainly for the last sort of quarter of the year, and be interested to see how that goes forward as well into 2024.
Yeah, it is an interesting point, because I was actually having this conversation with my sister Ridley, because she was talking to me. Since I started working for pensions titles, I've kind of been obsessed with letting everyone around me know how important it is for them to, contribute to their pension and contribute more to their pension. But because she is self-employed, she's never really known how to set up her own. So she did start her own pension, but she was like, I just don't have the guidance. And then I was like, It sounds like you need a financial advisor, because now I know about financial advisors. And she was like, yeah, I've looked into it, but I don't think I'm a good fit for them, because being someone who's self-employed, she has months where she's doing really well and then some other months where she's not. So like that whole like fees and charges thing is also something. So if there are advisors who are willing to have clients who aren't, making a ton of money, I think there's probably such a huge chunk of the UK self-employed market that they can tap into.
Yeah, exactly that. Because I think when the FCA put the proposals out last week, they said that only 8% of UK adults have received financial advice. So, like you just said, it's kind of that a way of making it more affordable, isn't it? Of somebody who doesn't necessarily have huge amounts of money to invest, huge amounts of money to put away, but can still get that important advice where they can plan for the future.
Yeah, for sure. And Maria, what about you? What stood out for you for 2023?
There's a few things, really, a few topics that, well, I think the first one, consumer duty. Do we want to talk about it? I don't think I want to talk about it anymore. I think consumer dutied out. I think it's safe to say advisors have done okay in being prepared for it. I think they seem to have done a good job for what they can at this point. So
I did put up a poll on Money Marketing recently to say, was the Consumer Duty worth it? And I can't remember the exact stat. About half of them said no, it was a waste of time. But I don't know. It was about
was it a waste of time because they were already doing it, so they didn't need instruction to add value or whatever?
Maybe, but I did put an option to say it hasn't, like, yes, it's been a good thing, but just for some financial services firms.
Right.
So they could have ticked that one if that was the case. But no, it was a waste of time was the overarching feeling from that poll.
Strange, isn't it? Because I remember a piece Darius wrote recently on the exactly that, and most of the advisors, I think, on that one said that it was a worthwhile exercise, didn't they? Darius, was it 68% or something? Said it was a.
So it was more of a positive reaction, and it was a surprise because as everyone has said, the perception prior to it was, there was a bit of a feeling it wasn't really necessary amongst advisors, but then in that poll, actually, it sort of said what people wasn't expecting to hear, that actually it was worthwhile.
Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say, I agree. I think it's clearly a worthwhile exercise, but it sounds like an awful lot of work. And I think there's still some bits to be ironed out, and there's still work to do. But certainly, I would say in terms of features, opinion pieces, things that I've been reading, working on this year, Consumer Duty has come out as kind of the top topic of conversation. Number two, I'd say, is the lifetime allowance that was obviously abolished or plans announced to abolish back in the spring budget. It's just been confirmed just lately in the finance bill that they are going to push ahead with this by 6th of April. 6th of April, I mean, it's not long at all. And I think there's some massive concerns about that time frame. So that will be a big story next year, which we'll kind of go on to. I think another element of that is that there's an election coming up. Labour is saying that they would go back on that. They'd reinstate it. So it's really confusing. I do not envy advisors with all of that stuff going on. And then so number 3 for me, I think AI, ChatGPT. That's been a huge story this year. Really did blow up. What was it, just after summer or over summer? I think since then, I think a lot of the AI chat has been around ChatGPT. But since then, I think a lot's been, I mean, Lois, you did a leader recently on it, which was really interesting. I think, there's been stuff more pulled out, more clarified about AI more broadly. The threats, the challenges, the benefits. I mean, I was looking through some of our features this year. Ian McKenna, I can't remember what month it was, but he said that advisors should be looking to increase their tech budgets by around 300% to factor in AI, which I thought was a really interesting stat. I mean, obviously there's big pros and cons, but I think it's been a big story and will continue to be a big story. And then on the investment side of things, is AI a bubble? Is this a bubble story? Is this all going to come crashing down? I think some of the biggest stock stories this year have been kind of based on AI, so that'll be interesting to see as well. We've actually got a piece coming out this week by Darius McDermott that's saying it might be showing the signs of a bubble, but he doesn't seem to think it will be. So that's interesting. As an investment story, it's just massive. It's huge. Looking forward to seeing what happens there.
Yeah. Not to do the doom and gloom thing about how you were talking about like AI and how like Ian McKenna said that you should invest more in AI and stuff. It just got me thinking about something I saw recently. The Deputy Prime Minister, I wanted to confirm this because I'd seen it on TikTok. But I saw it on reputable news sources as well. He had said that everyone needs to stock up on battery devices in case of like the national grid melting down. Which is funny because also there's a movie that's recently been released with Julia Roberts where
I watched it this week.
Yeah, where all tech just shuts down, and then we're basically taken back to like, when my parents were the cool kids on the block.
Just when you said that, Kim, a massive thunderstorm just started just outside my window.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to. I was about to make exactly the same analogy because I think I'm not far from where you are, Lois. So there was huge.
Yeah,
the topic of AI was introduced. Yeah,
it's happening. It started.
Yeah, so it's just very interesting to me that like there's this movie that's come out that apparently was backed or like somehow the Obamas were involved in it.
Produced by the Obamas, yeah.
Yeah, so they were. So you'd think like as a former president, Obama probably has some insight, some knowledge, something that he might know. And then there's also people talk about the solar storms that come from the sun that can mess with our national grid. So it just does make you think we are relying on tech way more. And since ChatGPT was introduced, I have used it quite a bit when it comes to like, there's only so many ways that you can say, listen to our podcast or come to our event. Sometimes you want someone else to step in to help with that creativity. So I have used it for that, and it's useful for like just getting that quick suggestion. But thinking that like everything could be taken away, I'm just like, wow, if tech just broke down, if my Wi-Fi broke down, so like that's my job gone. There's a lot of people's livelihoods gone. So look out for that in 2024.
Scary.
If you believe what Elon Musk says, none of us will ever have to work again.
Well, he certainly won't have to work again.
Like maybe we should go back. Maybe we should go back to like what it was like 200 years ago before we all moved closer to big cities and started working. Go back to the farm land living.
Well, everyone dying at the age of 30 with rotting teeth and stuff.
Yes, maybe it was simpler back then. Because people always get nostalgic about looking back in time and being like, wow, it was so much better back then. So I don't know.
Well, usually people's vision of the past are kind of stately homes and nice frocks, aren't they? And things like that. So
yeah.
I'm happy to go back to that, but not any of the other aspects of the past.
Let's do it. Like my only reference to that now is probably like Bridgerton, which isn't like accurate, but it's pretty.
Cool. Well, if we do go back there, let's keep equality though. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know. Darius, what about you? Finally, what stood out for you in 2023?
For me, it was probably because it just at the end of November, the FCA announced what the SDR labels they're going to implement into funds to avoid greenwashing, so investors know what funds have more of a general sustainable sort of focus, and also because it's the first piece I wrote for the magazine was on the FCA consultation at the time on the labels that they would implement into the funds, and it was originally going to come out in Q2, but it got pushed back to Q4. So that's why it just came out at the end of November. So yeah, it was sort of a mix of a personal one, but also it was a big deal for industry as well, because obviously ESG is a big topic, and this sort of gives investors that sort of stamp of approval that you're invested in a fund that is sort of delivering on its promises, sort of thing. Will invest in the sort of areas that align with your beliefs. So I'd say that was probably a big story for me, because I felt like it. I sort of became aware of it, started focusing on when I first started money marketing, and it's just sort of my role at money marketing just sort of came out recently, and it does seem like a good idea as well, like having an authentic sticker on a fund, so there's no sort of misguidance involved. So yeah, I'd say that's probably my that's probably the biggest story for me this year.
Yeah, and probably something that will continue to develop into 2024 as well.
Yeah, well, because FCA said they're going to implement into funds, and the idea they're going to implement it more broadly into the sort of financial industry. So not only funds, but other products will also be getting these labels. Yeah.
Okay, and also sticking with you, Darius, I want to know personally for you, what stood out for you? What did you have any personal achievements that you made? Obviously, you also started at Money Marketing this year, so I don't know if you wanted to share anything a little bit personal. You don't have to tell us like your blood type or anything, but
I think a personal highlight was when I went to a talk on AI, and Piers Linney from Dragon's Den was there, giving he's one of the people giving a talk. And when I walked in, he actually shook my hand, introduced himself, and actually spoke to him. And I thought that's pretty cool. I've actually shook my hand with a form of dragon. I've actually spoke to him, and I'm listening to him talk on AI in a building in London. So yeah, that was like a personal highlight, because it was pretty cool to say I've done that. So for me, that's for the personal one. I'd say in general, money market is just, especially after COVID, it's been nice having a job where you go out a lot and you actually meet people and speak to them face to face and so forth. And obviously, but I mean, there's still been obviously a few team calls, but yeah, there's been a lot more face to face time, actually meeting people and actually start off sort of professional relationships and so forth. So that's nice. That's definitely a change following COVID, when that never really happened. So yeah, I would say with money marketing, that's definitely been a part that I've enjoyed. Of it is more sort of meeting and talking and to new people and so forth.
Yeah, I thought you were going to mention you wrote about it in your weekend essay about how you assisted someone in getting compensation or something like that.
Yeah, no, true. That's yeah. You know me better than I do, Kim. Yeah, no, that's yeah. I probably should have lived on that as well. Yeah, it was all right. Okay, well, did that as well. Yeah, no, basically there was a individual who was owed money because he had invested in a company that went bankrupt, and effectively had sort of sat on it for a few years, and he hadn't received the decent sum of money he invested in the company back. And then so I wrote about his situation, and then obviously it got a bit more attention. And then reasonably soon after, he actually got a letter saying he'd be reimbursed for the money that he invested, and he'd get it back, and we paid like a additional for sort of for waiting time and so forth, just for some money. So yeah, my weekend essay was, I can't wait, making a difference is a good feeling or something. I can't quite remember. Yeah, but yeah, it was just nice to see that you actually the idea of journalism, you actually write an article and actually positively benefiting someone's life, because but yeah, that's just I don't know, a sort of a more personal dream of mine. Actually, writing an article actually helps people. So yeah, and I remember I said in that weekend essay, the closest I got to this is I had meningitis, and I wrote a blog about it for Independent, and then I remember some people commenting on it saying that they'd suffered from it, or family member had suffered from it, and they were happy that I was writing about it, giving it attention, because it's a horrible disease and so forth. So it was nice. So it's just it's a warm feeling when your articles you write actually helping people or benefiting people in some way.
Exactly. That's why I thought you'd want to add to it the feel good moment. No,
yeah. Thank you for doing that one, Kim. Yeah,
you're welcome. What about you, Lois?
I had a feeling you were going to come to me. My personal work highlight would probably be winning Next Gen Planner's Financial Journalist of the Year award in June.
Great. It was fantastic. I was
pleased with that.
Well deserved.
And then I may have left it in Manchester.
You don't need to tell people.
I've got it now.
No one needs to know.
They sent it to me very kindly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good one. I also thought MMI London was a really good event, and I really enjoyed it. And I made a little video of it, and that's something I want to continue doing in 2024. More videos, and I've even got a little microphone for my phone.
Cool. You'll be like on the street, like, how much money do you make? You should do that.
I'll do that. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have a Tesla?
I don't.
No, but I'm saying like that could be one of the questions, because isn't the running joke that all financial advisors have Teslas?
Teslas or Jags, yeah.
Yeah. So
that was probably the main things for me. Not as exciting as helping someone get money like Darius, but
he didn't even remember that. Over his head.
True, yeah.
But honest, like both of you have done amazing. In fact, the whole team has. So I know that Tom, you're fairly new, but are there any other highlights apart from obviously joining the best team?
Well, obviously, that goes without saying. No, I'll actually second what Darius said about being able to get out and meet people. Though my previous role was a bit sedentary and sort of coming off the back of COVID, it was sort of like slowly kind of moving into the sort of home working space. But this job has kind of got me out of it again, and I met some very, very interesting people in the sector, which was not surprising exactly, but kind of reassuring. I suppose my personal highlight must be becoming a father for the first time, which was pretty full on. You know, I don't know about helping people make money. Certainly the child has got a lot of money out of us. You know, it's all we've got to spend our cash on is toys and various entertainments for this screaming, mewling.
Just think about it this way. One day, hopefully, he'll feel indebted to mum and dad. So he'll pay you back.
I hope so. He just sits around going, I didn't ask to be born, did I?
That's also very fair. That's also a very fair point. Sometimes I try and do that, but then I think, oh man, like they were just people and they were just doing what they thought was the right thing to do. Yeah. So then I feel like, I should like buy them dinner at least.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's strange because at the moment he's 7 months old now, so he's very cute and very affectionate and very kind of giggly. But whenever he kind of like smiles and sticks his tongue out, I kind of think, how long is this going to last? Eventually, you're going to turn against me in some way. So we're trying to get as much affection as we can.
I've heard 2 isn't a great year.
Yes. Yeah, we're gearing up for that. I've heard 2 is tricky. I've heard 3 is tricky. I've heard 4 is tricky. I'm just chatting.
So when they start developing a personality, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm happy for them not to have any personality. just be the way they are. Yeah. You reminded me, by the way. My blood type is O negative. You didn't ask, but I'll chuck it in, which is the universal
donor. Yeah.
Yeah. So
good to know.
Well, as my sort of Christmas plea, I'm going to use that as a jumping off point to encourage people to donate blood if they don't already do so, because there's been a lot of shortages this year. And they're always rolling out the red carpet for me because I'm O negative, which they really, really need. But they welcome all types of blood. So that's my slightly off-topic Christmas plea.
No, that is a very important point to make. I have actually tried to donate blood twice this year. Once I couldn't because I just got my nose pierced. They don't like that. Second time I went, my iron was slightly low. So January, fingers crossed, I'm taking my iron supplements. I think I'll be able to donate. So yeah, fantastic. Everyone sign up, donate. And Maria, what about you?
So just talking about the hardest ages of children, mine are 2 and 4. So I think we covered 2, 3, and 4.
You are juggling.
I'm in it. But they are my proudest achievement. I love them.
They're so cute, by the way. Whenever I see pictures, they're very cute babies.
They are lovely. They're lovely. So we're having a lot of fun with Christmas and everything. But they'll be my proudest achievement every day. But work-wise, with Features has had a really strong year. Amanda and I, we had a little chat before she went off for Christmas, and we're really happy. I think we've done really well this year. And Amanda's fantastic. She's not here today. She can't be here, but I need to big her up. She's absolutely fantastic. And I know all the readers think the world of her and all the team thinks the world of her. So she's had a great year. I'm really proud of some of the contributors that I've secured for next year, regular slots. So we have got Noel Butwell, Chief Executive of Aberdeen, Andy Curran, Chief Executive of Standard Life, Caroline Conlon, Chief Executive of M&G Wealth. Finally got hold of the new pensions minister, who's going to be writing for us in January. Been trying for that one for a few months, so I'm really happy with that. David Ferguson, Chief Executive of Seckle, ex-Nucleus Chief Executive. Tech. Mr. Tech knows everything. So we're going to have some really, really good content from January. I'm really pleased with that. And just overall, think we've had a really good year. Some really good opinion pieces, features, thought leadership pieces. So that's my highlight.
And more to come, so it's exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
And Dan, what about you? Also someone who is fairly new, so I know maybe there's loads that you actually have. I don't know.
Yeah, well, like Tom, really. Obviously came in recently, and similar situation. I've had a couple of years, like a lot of people, with obviously COVID, and then I was between my previous role on the newspaper and joining Money Marketing. I was freelance for a while, so yeah, one of the things I missed most was being part of a team. And I just feel, without sounding really cheesy about it, just really lucky to have joined such a lovely team. Where I enjoy working. That means a lot to me. Where sort of going to work and actually enjoying it. I absolutely loved it so far. Such a variety of things to write about. So many different people that I've met. So many lovely people. From advisors to planners to to people I've interviewed, and it's just been brilliant. Been absolutely brilliant from a personal perspective, and just sort of actually enjoying learning about the sector as well, because I haven't had a huge amount of experience in terms of financial writing before, so it's just sort of simultaneously learning about the sector, meeting new people, with this brilliant team as well. It's just I feel very lucky. And again, like from a personal perspective, like Tom and Maria, I've got two little girls who are trouble with a capital T, and
they're cool.
I'd love to say they're lovely, but I'd love to say it gets easier, Tom. But it's
I've got to be leaning on you, Maria, for a lot of moral support in the 2024 recommendation.
But it's it's great. It's it's been a tough year in lots of different ways. So I think to end it hopefully on a bit of a high is a really good thing.
Yeah. I think we're glad to have everyone here. Well, I am. I'm definitely glad to know all of you, and it's been really easy to work with you. But for me, I think one of my highlights is continuing the In Conversation With series. It kind of just started as just a random idea that I had, where we'd have like a regular weekly podcast, and we've had so many interesting guests this year. Lois also does it alongside with me. Anyone in the editorial team can. But yeah, me and Lois mainly have done most of the episodes this year. And I think for me, the highlight episode was the one I recently did with Nikki Cook from Protection Guru, where we talked about menopause and its effect on, women in the workforce, and what protections there can be for them. And, this isn't a conversation that a lot of people have had. And I haven't gone through menopause, but I know a lot of women around me who have. And I now just think about it, knowing what the actual symptoms are and how much it can be debilitating. And I look at them in awe, and I'm just like, how did you go through that while also like raising your family, or, going to work every single day and functioning through different life events? Like Nikki was talking about how she'd been going through a divorce as well at the time. So it was a lot for her, and trying to find that support. Maybe if she needed time off work and stuff, and the what protections are out there for women. So that was a really impactful, important episode that I enjoyed doing. I don't know, Lois, if you had one that you particularly wanted to highlight as well from in conversation with.
I enjoyed one that I did recently with Alistair Walker, who's a financial advisor and also a PFS member. Although we didn't talk about PFS, but
next time you'll get him. Yeah, you'll get him on the record.
And yeah, he was just talking a lot about sort of the importance of encouraging new advisors into the sector, because as well as the advice gap, there's this advisor gap where a lot of advisors are going to retire in the next 5 years, and maybe not enough are coming in to fill that gap. So that was interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, hopefully that gap is filled because people need it, like my sister. But looking ahead now to 2024, I'm just going to throw this out there for whoever wants to answer first. What trends are you seeing for 2024, and also what are you most looking forward to for 2024?
I think probably, if you don't mind me answering first.
Go for it.
Because I haven't mentioned one of my favorite topics on this call, on this podcast, which is consolidation.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's a big one. And it's always a big topic. But I feel like it's maybe going to continue in 2024. And I've been hearing some things about maybe the consolidators themselves starting to consolidate now. So, but I also, on the other end, there are quite a lot of small advice firms starting up. So advisors branching off from big advice firms and launching their own 1 or 2 man band advice firms. So I feel like that's going to continue as well. And I hope it is, because I love a startup advice firm and I love talking to the people who launch them. It's quite positive, unlike some conversations I have in this financial world.
And I think with that startup thing is where you start getting more opportunity to fill that advice gap. Probably because maybe they're a bit more flexible with who their clients will be, and what their structure will be like. So
definitely, and their charging models and things.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, hopefully more of that. And Tom.
Well, I suppose 2024 is going to be the year of elections. More elections happening in 2024 than in any other year in history, I think, is the statistic. Most significantly, obviously, the UK and the US election. How that will play out for the sort of the markets and the financial advice sector just in general will be, I think, very, very interesting. A lot of chat about what might happen if a Labour government comes in. I mean, Maria mentioned the lifetime allowance earlier, that they're pledged to reverse that decision to abolish it. A lot of the advisors I've been talking to are very, very sceptical that they will do that. And particularly if they have a very small majority and they have an awful lot of challenges on their plate, it will just be interesting to see how that pans out. So I think that's one of the things I'll be keeping an eye on, along with AI and how that plays out, because I mean, the number of conversations I've had with everyone, no matter where they work or what they're doing, AI is on their mind, and that's certainly true of financial advice as well.
Yeah. On that AI thing, I did see that Google is releasing an even stronger version of what they currently have. So right now they have Bard, but they're releasing something called Google Gemini, which is something that they've been working on, which is meant to be even more powerful than Bard and ChatGPT, because it's just getting all the information from Google, which I don't know if that's terrifying or if it's like, oh, this is going to be such an effective tool I can use.
Probably a bit of both, isn't it? I've been urged to try ChatGPT 4, which is the one that you have to pay for.
Yeah.
Because I've just been playing around on the free version and going, well, this is rubbish. We've got nothing to worry about here. And then I've been told by my colleagues, oh, no, you want to try ChatGPT 4. Maybe that is, that'll be doing my job this time next year.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't like sometimes I don't think it has the capacity for creativity. Maybe if we get into into a future similar to Blade Runner, then we should be concerned.
About more than it just taking our jobs in writing.
Yeah, it could just take your personality take over who you are as a person. So
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. Maria, what are you looking forward to in 2024?
I wrote election as well. Yeah, I think
everyone's pumped for elections.
Yeah, I think it would just be
US and UK, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be significant for advisors, I think, especially for Labour, well, particularly if Labour get in. But also I just wanted to touch on the SJP stuff. One of our lovely contributors, Robin Powell, he wrote some quite insightful pieces towards the end of this year. And I know that in terms of their exit charges, changes aren't going to be made till 25, but I do think we will see some changes this year, or at least according to Robin, changes in their investment philosophy. There's talk of embracing more index funds when they've historically been more active focused. And also they are looking to reduce the average age of their advisors, which I know the industry should be doing as a whole, but I just thought this was particularly interesting because they're looking at redundancies at manager level and looking to put a bigger focus on its academy, which obviously is a big academy, one of the biggest players in that space at the moment. But so that I think that'd be something to watch. Some big more changes to come at SJP.
Yeah, I think if they want to do that, then they should go to schools and start giving bursaries and stuff. I don't know. For most kids, I think they have no idea what a financial advisor is unless their parents are already in that bracket where they have a financial advisor or they have an uncle who's something like that. But if you want your presence to be known and you want this profession to be known, I think you have to go to the source directly.
I think that's a good point as well about financial education more broadly. Will this year be the year that something changes there? Because we've been talking about it for years. There needs to be a change at that school level in terms of financial education. I guess that's a hope for this year that it will filter down.
We'll see. And Dan, what about you? What are you looking forward to for 2024?
Yeah, like everyone else has said, I think it's going to be a really big year, and for so many different reasons. Tom's mentioned elections, and there's Maria's just mentioned the financial education side of things. I mentioned the advice guidance boundary earlier as well. We've also got the autumn statement stuff, which going to start getting implemented sort of between January and April. So I think it's particularly the first sort of 4 to 5 months of the year, it's going to be a lot happening. The financial education stuff's interesting because, as Maria said, I think there's last month there was an inquiry that MPs launched into improving financial education in schools. There's a cross-party education committee, and they're looking at whether it should be introduced as part of the primary school curriculum. At the moment, I think it's been part of the national curriculum for local authority-run secondary schools for about 10 years now. But places like academies and free schools can opt out of teaching it.
Okay.
So they're kind of looking at why it's often overlooked, sort of how well schools and teachers are supported to deliver it, whether it could maybe be incorporated into the post-16 curriculum. There's a lot of chat at the moment about improving financial education from a younger age, which having spoken to quite a few advisors over the last couple of months, that's a common theme that keeps occurring, is that actually we really need to kind of not nip it in the bud, but improve it from as young age as possible, really, to educate people and to chat. So I think that would be an interesting one. And the other one is this kind of continuing rise in MPS. It's been a sort of a common theme throughout not just 2023, but it's kind of accelerated over the last sort of decade, really, and it kind of doesn't really show any sign of slowing down. So I think that would be interesting. I think last week I wrote a piece about the MPS market's now growing at a faster rate than the platform market. And it'd just be interesting to see how that will play out, really, because again, for DFM's discretionary fund managers, they seem to be getting busier and busier, but I think consolidation, like lower spending, will probably be the key thing next year. In that world, I think that rise in NPS will probably see more and more consolidation throughout the industry. So yeah, quite a few things. Be interesting.
Quite a few things on your list to look out for.
Quite a few things. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it'll play out.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see too. And finally, Darius, what are you looking forward to in 2024?
Yeah, I would say a lot of what everyone else has just discussed. But I know for me, what comes first to mind is probably the fact that there's some major political elections coming up, so there'll be some big answers there. I think a trend I think might happen is I think it'd be more ESG sort of chat, and I think it's become a bit more more momentum behind it. And from talking to advisors, they say, a lot of times when people do invest in this, it's more of a personal thing. It's what they believe in rather than necessarily like the sort of financial side of it. But I think it's just, as a topic, it's getting a lot more airtime, a lot more attention, a lot more of a wider global things that affect all of us. So I feel like it'd be more transition, more attention placed on that whole sort of that idea that you have a whole issue investing. I think it will get more airtime and be more money be invested into the whole sort of sector. I think, as a guess, the way things are going, I feel that could potentially happen next year.
You don't think that people are kind of bored of ESG and now thinking like it doesn't make any money, and even the Prime Minister doesn't care about?
No, that was I mean, that's definitely was. I mean, that was a topic of last piece sort of wrote for the mag was the whole sort of rollback from Rishi Sunak. But I think that's what people's beliefs are sort of stronger or are heavier than what a PM or any politician says. And I get a feeling that with the trends of a big news story, it seems like more people become more aware of it, more alert of it, and they want to sort of follow it. And I know this is a prediction. I could be wrong. Could go completely other way, and maybe people do follow the PM sort of rollback on it. But I get a feeling that it's going to accelerate or go bigger rather than go in the opposite direction.
Okay, well, we'll pick this up at the end of 2024 and see how your prediction went.
Fine. Let's do it.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you all for joining me. I really enjoyed this chat. I've enjoyed working with each and every single one of you, and I look forward to working with you more in 2024 with, web stuff, mag stuff, the events, the awards, everything. I think that's everything that I'm looking forward to. The things we create.
Yeah,
because
agreed.
As a creative, 100%. That's where my passion lies.
And we've loved working with you too, Kim.
Thanks. Yeah. I wasn't digging. So thanks for joining me, guys.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Jim. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.